Hey guys, happy Monday. It's Shakespeare Day, my favorite day. So let's climb right back into Macbeth. We are on Act 2. So when last we left, the Macbeths have come into agreement. They are going to kill the king. And they found a way to get away with it, which is to blame Duncan's guards, blame the king's guards so they don't have to take the fall. So beginning of Act 2, we meet Banquo and his son Fleance. Remember that the witches told Banquo that he will not be king, but he will get kings, which means that his sons will become kings and his grandsons, although he won't become king himself. So we meet that son, Fleance, and it's just in parting. They're walking around with torches. I forget why they're doing that. They're going home, I guess. And they meet Macbeth, who is also in the castle. He's still up. It's late at night. Macbeth is going to kill Duncan in his sleep, and he stumbles upon Banquo and Fleance, who are going to bed. And they exchange pleasantries, and Macbeth says something very interesting. He says, where is it? He says, if you shall cleave to my consent when 'tis, it shall make honor for you. Very interesting. It's a kind of an opaque line, but it's basically saying when this thing goes down, when I do this thing, if you are on my side, you'll do well. Now, Banquo knows what he's talking about because he heard the witches say that Macbeth is going to be the next king, and Banquo knows the only way to be king is to kill the king before you. I don't think that Banquo thinks that Macbeth is actually going to stab the king in his sleep that night, but he knows that those wheels are turning. And Banquo they have an exchange, and Banquo's like, look, as long as I don't have to give up my honor to back you, I will. And Macbeth's like, cool. And it's all kind of a polite conversation, but the undercurrent is that Banquo is dangerous to Macbeth, that he's not going to cut any moral corners. And since Macbeth now is cutting major moral corners, Banquo now becomes dangerous. It brings up the point, I think, about casting Banquo. A lot of productions cast Banquo as kind of a roly-poly best friend kind of guy, like an uncle who never works out, you know? And I think that's just a total mistake. In the beginning of the play, Macbeth and Banquo are talked about as the two most badass warriors in all of Scotland. So Banquo, I would argue, if anything, has to be taller than Macbeth. He has to be more muscular than Macbeth. He has to look like he might be able to kick Macbeth's ass. Any given day, any given fight, you never know who's going to win. And I think that when, as the audience is walking through this as Macbeth, they have to look at Banquo and be like, ooh, man, if that guy turns on me, that's a real problem. So Banquo's got to be a badass. And he almost never is cast that way. Anyway, they split and Macbeth is left alone. And suddenly he starts hallucinating, or it's not hallucination, it's witchcraft. It's not really explained. A dagger appears before him. And he's just like, what the hell is this? And the dagger is leading him. It's a bloody dagger, and it's floating through the air and leading him toward Duncan. And he doesn't know what to make of it. And he's kind of freaked out. And then it's some of the coolest language, some of the coolest dark Halloween language, Macbeth says. Let me read the whole speech, because it's a famous speech. It's the dagger speech, and I'll read it for you. Is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not. and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which I now draw. Thou marshallest me the way I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. Mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, and on thy blade and dudgeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now, o'er one half world, nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel, the wolf, whose howls his watch, thus with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing strides towards his design, moves like a ghost. Thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear the very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time which now suits with it. Whilst I threat he lives, words to the heat of deed too cold breath gives. I go, and 'tis done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell. So, the worst thing you can do playing Macbeth is go, it's a dagger in front of me. Oh, it's very freaky. I'm afraid. And I've seen people do that. I I think that he's very cool about it. He's just like, what? You know? But he's like, well, you know, there's a dagger floating from me. Oh, come, let me clutch thee. Whoa, I don't have you anymore. And he finally just says, look, man, this my brain is playing tricks on me. It's not real. And then he steels himself with all of this dark black imagery and wraps himself in a mantle of these dark words that he has, and compares himself to a wolf and to murder, moving stealthily like a ghost, and he just becomes the version of himself that's able to go do this and to go kill, which he's used to doing. He's used to killing, but he's used to killing on the battlefield where both people have a sword. He is not used to stabbing someone in their sleep. He's not used to stabbing a friend in their sleep. And so he wraps himself up in all this imagery to kind of gird himself to do it. The next scene, Lady Macbeth is waiting for her husband to come back. They come back from murdering Duncan. And she's really nervous, and she's hearing, you know, night sounds, and she's worrying and understandably freaking out. And then suddenly Macbeth calls out, "Who's there? What? Ho!" And she's like, what the fuck was that? Why was he yelling? This was supposed to be a quiet crime. Why is there yelling going? Something's gone wrong. And then Macbeth enters, and he's freaked out, and he's asking all these questions. And he finally says, he talks about how the king's sons, Donalbain and Malcolm, were in their sleep, and one in their sleep said, "God bless us," and the other one said, "Amen," in their sleep. And Macbeth wanted to say amen when he heard "God bless us," because that's what you do as a Christian back in these times, and he couldn't say it. It stuck in his throat. That freaked him out. But the reason that he's really freaked out is he heard a voice. Before he killed, he heard a voice saying, "Sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep." And like, who the fuck said that? He's if he's thinking that that's a human being that said that. And if that's true, someone knows about the crime. What the hell is happening? He's freaking out. Then he goes through, he talks about sleep. And Shakespeare is just fascinated with sleep. He's like me. He thinks of sleep as one of the best things in the world and one of the worst things in the world to lose. Like, life is great when I have a great night's sleep, and life sucks when I don't. He says, "The innocent sleep, sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labor's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast." So he's like, he's running on about this, and he's panicked. And Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, is trying to calm him down, just saying, "You're unbending your own thoughts. Calm down, calm down. We don't know what's going on. Nothing definitely has gone wrong." And she notices that he took the daggers, the murder weapons are still in his hands, and they're bloody, having just killed Duncan. And the whole point is to be able to do this without getting caught and to blame the guard. So why does he still have the daggers? And he's like, "I forgot. You know, I just heard this. I heard this noise. I heard this voice, and I fled." And she says, "Give me the daggers." She says, "Well, go bring them back and put them near the guards." And he's like, "I can't go back in there." And she's like, "Oh my God, I'll do it for you." And she goes off. And they're basically just both freaking out. And that is pretty much it. She comes back, she leaves, and Macbeth is just freaking out. There's knocking on the gate. It's so late at night that it's actually becoming early morning, and all of the king's retinue, the big group of people that he traveled with, they can't all fit in the castle, so a lot of them have camped outside the castle walls. They're knocking at the beginning of the day to come in for the day's activities, and Macbeth says, "How is it with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No. This my hand will rudder the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red." To incarnadine would be to turn red. So he's like, I could put my hands in the ocean and they wouldn't get clean. It would turn the ocean red. That's how guilty I am right now. And Lady Macbeth comes back in, having put the daggers near the guards, and she says, "Look, we got to clean up. We got to go wash ourselves, get the blood off of us, and we got to look like we've been sleeping all night and are coming to open the gate all drowsy. So we got to put on a false face here." And that's it. Nothing about that is Lady Macbeth running her husband around. Lady Macbeth is freaked out. He forgets to put the daggers there. She works with him to get that taken care of. She's panicked and pissed about it, but she does not unman him in any way. Macbeth is freaked out. He heard a voice, and that is really concerning. Who the fuck was that? And so it's understandable that he's freaking out. He's not weak. He's just not stupid. Someone might have seen what happened. And we'll leave it there, guys. Until next week, bye-bye.